Hey everyone, it's Timid. I'm back with another episode of Road to 1K. Yeah, Road to 1K. I keep on. I never know what to say for it because technically I'm on a road to 1.2K or 1200 road to 1200, I guess, at this point. But it's Road to 1K. Anyway, today's episode is going to be his Tier 2 standard match versus John Ra on the map Shadow Drifter V2, and it's going to be it's a Tier 2 standard match. What's interesting about this map, well, there's a lot of interesting things about this map, but first of all, Max is banned from Tier 2 for, I don't know, kind of obvious reasons, I would say, because, like, just look at it. It's an insanely good Max map. Like, he's got a 56% win rate overall, compared to 48, 44, 47 for the other Tier 2 COs, so, you know, makes sense to have them banned from this, just for that reason. I guess there's a slight FTA as well. And there's a lot of interesting things about this map. The first one, well, I guess the most obvious one is the lander that starts on your lab here. Let's see, can I see? Yeah, I can take a look at how far it can move. Like, look at that. It's got a lot of tiles that it can move around too. Like, it can ferry stuff. It's basically going to be just ferrying stuff from this space all the way up here. Or it'll just be sitting on the lab because you don't want to leave it open to a random Sammy victory march or whatever. The other things that are important, well, you have your one base plus airport in the corner, and then also in the other corners are the comm towers. Now, what's interesting about the comm towers is they are like on their own little peninsula here, so you can pretty easily choke off your opponent from getting to it. Either way, like either offensively from player 2 for this one, or defensively from player 1, because the one, it's basically just a top-bottom map, so player 1 has the bottom half, player 2 has the top. And that's more or less what they're supposed to control, sort of. You have some properties around this way, and then in the center as well, that are sort of spaced out a bit, so depending on where your bases are, you have a little bit more of an area of control or whatever, but yeah, just that. The other thing about this map, you've also got these pipe teams here. I guess you can blow them open to make it easier for you to ferry units from here all the way back up here, but because you're sort of trying to get your units into the fray down here anyways, I don't think there's that much of a point of blowing these open. I guess maybe with your air units you could like use a bomber or something to blow this open so that you can go through it a bit faster to reinforce over this way with air units, but that's about it. And because you're going to be going this way anyways with the air units, I don't really see much of a point to like focusing down these pipe teams specifically. But this is I wouldn't say it's like super choke point, but there's enough like rivers and stuff around here and forests that you can play around artillery to an extent. So do keep that in mind as well. Like if you wanted to focus it down, it would be the worst thing in the world to do so, especially if you're playing like Sammy. In terms of COs, this map is either, well, for tier 2, it's basically going to be between Eagle, Olaf, or Sammy. I picked Eagle just because I kind of wanted the Lightning Strike, because an Eagle Lightning Strike can pretty much cover the entire map. And the other thing I noticed was the lander. I didn't really want to... Well, the lander basically makes it so that if you leave it on your base or on your lab, your Sammy can't really do much against it, like the victory march or whatever. And the other thing is you're only like 5 tiles away from your base anyways to the lab, so you could just put in a medium tank on there even. If Sammy gets a little bit too close and you want to use your lander for something else. Let's see. Oh yeah, this map is only like 32k income, so 16 per player, which makes it a bit too small for Olaf to really snowball like he would want to. Which means that you kind of don't like his Winter Fury is a bit it doesn't scale as easily, so if you can't really just press the button and win, right, with Olaf, whereas you sort of can with an Eagle Lightning Strike or a Sammy Victory March if you get the setup correct, depending on whether your opponent moves their lander or whatever, or if they just leave their properties open, which it's a pretty small map, so I could see the argument either or for Sammy being good or not. It is also only 2 bases though, so that is a significant weakness for Sammy on this map, which Olaf and Eagle don't really have to deal with because they have full powered vehicles basically, whereas Sammy's well, I'd say really, but her tanks are underpowered. That's the main issue, is her tanks are underpowered. Because basically everything else Sammy doesn't really worry about. But her tanks especially are going to be the big thing on this map. Not having that firepower is going to cost my opponent a good amount here. So I think that's about all that I wanted to cover before actually getting into the replay, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So, yeah, opening up, we both basically get a little bit of extra income from both of these cities. Interestingly enough, like, we each have one of these. But yeah, because we start with a lab and it's a pretty low income map, having that extra property like that for the first like turn or so, even though you're basically just going to be flipping it over to the other player, does give you a little bit of extra income to start out with. Which I think that's pretty good design, honestly. My opponent's obviously moving their lander in immediately, and I'm not doing that. Partially because I don't really feel like contesting the center here. Because Sammy can just move in her infantry pretty easily, especially with the lander. I mean, for the first few turns, I didn't even realize that my opponent was like using the lander. But I figured it out kind of quickly. But like Sammy with just infantry can basically have control of this area by herself pretty easily. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if moving the lander out of here is necessarily the best option. Especially because, like, well, the other thing that's interesting about this lander is if like you build a medium tank, you can get into this forest like in one turn because you just dropped off. Or into this forest, maybe. Yeah, the easier lander, you could probably just put it here and then drop it off on this forest. That would be better. But you can just leave it here and then drop stuff off of it anyways if you wanted to. Like tanks, even you can do that with, just to get into the forest. So even just having the lander sit here is not like completely awful. As far as boosting your vehicles and stuff goes. See, like, my opponent was able to do something like that, I'd say. It's a little bit of extra movement. But, as you can see there, didn't really actually make it to the forest. Not that it matters, because I'm not anywhere close to that forest anyways, but whatever. So I've already got my first comm tower taken care of. He's moving in towards his... I didn't really mean to skip there, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I've got my tank here, zoning out this entire area. Like, he can't really attack. He could maybe attack into it if he wanted to, but... like, it would basically be an even trade, so there's not much of a point for Sammy moving in with her tanks, especially considering I've got that comm tower here. So I attacked into that infantry to delay them capturing this comm tower in the back, especially because I was assuming Well, I noticed that he was mainly building vehicles and even mechs out of this base, and then just ferrying them around with the lander. So I figured, okay, I can just throw an infantry at this guy. It'll probably go down, but the advantage of doing that is he's got less infantry to worry about for me to chew through here later. So I feel like and I'm also delaying the cap of the conning tower. So overall, probably would have been better just hang out with the infantry, maybe hold back and wait for my vehicles to get here, or my upper infantry to come to back it up. But I got a decent first strike off of him on him anyway, so I think it's not like the end of a world, but I should basically just toss away that infantry for free there. It's not like optimal or anything, obviously, but whatever. And he's also got mechs with his tanks here, guarding his tanks, so I can't really move in against them quite yet. I go for the luck rolls there and I don't quite get the wall break, which is unfortunate. I probably would have gone like nah, I don't think going in against the mech is a play there, because I don't really have any support in the area. I don't really want the first strike against it on this city either. Like, I think I probably could have taken it, maybe? Let's see. This were a Sammy mech. Yeah, I probably could have taken it, but like, it's not really the best engagement. Anyways, so. But the good thing about this is I am delaying the capture of this property for a little bit. Not sure if it's worth the 2 infantry that I'm losing there, but anyways. Like, I probably should have just held back for a little bit there. And I moved my tank back over here so that I can start securing this area. Like, what I could have maybe done instead of going for that infantry there would be maybe just building up my infantry reserves over here a little bit more, but whatever. Yeah, so I also just made an infantry charge against the Sammy infantry here. Since I'm basically making even trades as far as like unit count goes with these infantry, I feel like this is actually worth it. Whereas the other ones was maybe a little bit less worth it. Moving in with the mech here, with the tank here. So what I was thinking with it was I would just weaken the mech. What ended up happening was, well, maybe not necessarily that great, but it did make it so that his mech can't really do much against me anymore. So I was basically trading a tank for a mech, which isn't the best, especially in a low-income thing like this. And then like he was able to actually use his transport here to trap my tank, which was pretty cheeky of him, but also pretty decent maneuvering. So I respect it, at least. He's also got his anti-air here, which he's got in position to guard basically this entire area right now, which is great. Like, it's able to do a lot here in terms of coverage. The only issue with that is I have this tank here. And if I'm moving on to this city, there's not much he can do about it. Like, he can't really attack into it with this tank, so I basically have free reign to just start mashing my units into those guys down there. So I've got control of the bottom stuff down here. And then I use a recon to take out this upper mech. So his 2 mechs are basically dealt with in this area for the time being, at least. Probably shouldn't have attacked with the tank there, but I got another point of health off of that guy, so probably sort of worth it potentially. I don't know. He's able to take out the rest of my infantry there in a decent counterattack. Like, there goes my recon, but whatever. I'd say recon are very useful against Sammy because she's got a lot of infantry, so having recon to deal with that and not really worry about the high infantry firepower that she has, on retaliation is really nice. So you usually don't really see recons that present in standard play, but on a map like this against Sammy, I feel like they are actually pretty much almost always worth it. if you can afford it, especially on low income like this, because it's just increasing your vehicle count, and having a high vehicle count is very important as well, especially when you're playing someone like Eagle, where when he gets his lightning strike off, he just gets 2 moves with all of his vehicles specifically. So his infantry count is worth a little bit less than his actual vehicle count, making recons a bit more valuable, right? I think at this point I was basically doing 2 tanks whenever I could afford it, which is, I can pretty much always afford it. And then not really worrying about the battlecopters as much, because I don't have the money for it quite yet. Let's see. So he moves in with the mech here. And then he's got this anti-air down here to basically help guard all of his stuff down here at least, so it's not that bad. Then he's got this his battlecopter over here, which is supposed to zone out my battlecopter from moving into this area, basically. So overall, not bad coverage. The only issue is, like, first of all, I'm able to take this infantry out, so I'm going to be able to flip this con tower for 1. Second thing is I've got lightning strike. So I'm able to just move in with my battlecopter. And the reason I actually went for the lightning drive specifically was because of this battlecopter right here. Without lightning drive, it's kind of a really good engagement for this guy. But I pop lightning drive, right? It basically becomes an even trade. So, and especially if I were at full health, like, his mech got a decent lump roll, which is unfortunate, but if I were at full health, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. But if I were at full health, it is definitely something that he doesn't want to attack into, right? At all. And I'm basically able to just neuter his mech for more or less for free with this guy right here. So that's this battlecopter has been so useful for me, because I've just been able to dart back and forth and get out of this anti-air's range this entire time, which is funny for one. But then also popping lightning drive here gives me more or less control of this guys for at least a turn or so here. And then I go for another anti-air because I'm gonna basically need it. And then the other thing that's good about this is, like, building extra battlecopters here is increasing my unit count a good amount. So when I'm not able to really, well, I mean, I guess I could have gotten 2 tanks this turn, but I want anti-air because my opponent's been building battlecopters. So I can just build the battlecopter this turn, and then, like, next turn I can save up for the anti-air basically, so I can get anti-air to take next turn if I want. And yeah, 3-4, so not that bad of a trade, honestly, all things considered. Not that bad of a trade at all. He does get a shot in against this infantry, but he's not going to be able to stop that flip. So I'm going to have 20% firepower, and he's going to have -10 on all his vehicles. Which is going to be really important, actually, because it means that I'm going to be able to wall break with all of my units, whereas Sammy can only really do that with her infantry, which, to be fair, still really useful to be able to wall break with infantry, but because I'm going to have a good amount of vehicles and stuff at this point, like, it's turning into it's basically at the point in the match where you sort of want to be focusing more so on vehicles than infantry. It's a bit too late to just be doing infantry heavy stuff. And my opponent doesn't really have the mech presence either to really go all in on mechs or anything, right? So, and then I move in with the recon here as well. Like, it gets, like, that last, does enough to, like, barely do, like, a little bit more than 10, probably like 12, which is enough to knock it down to 1 health, which is very important here, actually. Recons are actually, like, phenomenal against battlecopters. Like, they take as much damage as tanks, but they do a little bit more and they cost less. So, very good cost-effective damage option against battlecopters in general, but also especially against these underpowered Sammy ones, because we're not going to take much in retaliation against them. Well, as much. So let's see. At this point, because my opponent's getting pretty close to a victory march, I just moved my lander into my harbor, because I don't want this guy to get any ideas about getting a shaky victory march, and then he gets the harbor, and then, like, he gets the harbor here. It's just gonna be so fucking annoying to deal with this, because he could just build a black boat to take control of it and wall it off, and then he could build like a save up for a battleship. That would be really annoying. So I'm just making sure that doesn't happen here by moving in my lander right there. Because I've got we're basically tied on income. He's about to flip this over to 16, but I've also got this property here that I can still cap. So what that means is we're basically tied on income, but I have the extra con tower. So eventually I'm going to be able to just blast through him with sheer firepower is my idea here. That's my thinking. Yeah, so he moves his mechs into the center here with a tank to back them up as well to an extent, so that's kind of annoying, but oh well. So I finish off that battlecopter, finish off that infantry, mostly finish off that tank, and then get a good first strike against this guy as well. I try to finish off with the infantry here, but it's only at half health, so it was kind of a 50-50 weapon that would work either way. And then I go for the attack here. I do get it down to 2 health, which, I mean, it's probably worth it because I'm expecting eventually to just join these two eventually, so I don't really need to be at full health with this guy anyways. And then I just have more infantry moving around this way because he's got a massive presence in the center here that I don't really want to deal with if I can help it. He does have a victory march active, but like right now, this guy's only in range of like the harbor. These mechs aren't really in range of anything. I guess he could maybe push into this property if he wanted to. Like tank plus the 7 health mech would probably be able to take out this tank, and then he could flip that with that. But that would also be like a 1 property victory march for something that I would probably get back pretty quickly because I've got anti-air and tanks all in this area, so no real point in doing that just yet for him. So he's just going to move up and then set up for a better victory march soon enough, right? So he's definitely threatening my lab right now, my HQ at this point, which is pretty annoying, but it's something I can deal with. And then he's just weakening my infantry in this area, which is annoying, but whatever. So I just charge in with my tanks and stuff. I move the battlecopter onto the lab because this guy's out of range and I'm going to be neutering this battlecopter with my battlecopter, so there's no point in... So there's no real threat to this guy taking damage quite this turn, right? Oh, actually... Oh, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, okay. So I move in with my weakened battlecopter as well, get a little bit of chip off on this guy, right? Finish off that tank, get the joint captor, which is important for 2 reasons. One, it makes this guy 10 health again, so he's threatening caps for like all of these properties. And the other thing that was important for that is it brings me just up to above 17k, which you'll see why that's important in a second here. Because I finish off this tank with the tank here. I should have probably moved in with this guy rather than moving back for healing, but whatever. But yeah, it was important because it allowed me to get this extra infantry in addition to the medium tank. Now, I don't necessarily think I needed this extra infantry. I could have probably just base skipped for having the medium tank, but having all the scenic count is pretty good as well. So I'd like my cake. I like to have my cake and eat it too. Thank you very much. So he takes out that 1 battlecopter, but he can't really move in against the lab this turn. So yeah, he doesn't actually really go for any attacks on the offensive here, actually, which is, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, and then you just got this stuff ready to go, basically. So I fall back with this guy to capture this property here. I take out these two guys because since I'm at 20% firepower now, this is actually a guaranteed kill. Earlier, I got a pretty lucky luck roll on a tank, on a mech around here, and I was able to just one-shot it. But that was only because of the luck roll. Because I have the second column power now, this is guaranteed. So there was like there was honestly no real point to him moving in like that with the mech in the transport copter, because they just got killed for it for no reason, more or less. Let's see, so I've got the anti-air in the back, I've got the medium tank here to really, I mean, if he decides to go for my battlecopters, I could just move in my medium tank and kill it that way. And then I just charge into this area, take out his mechs. He's still got one plus the tank, but whatever. And then I pop a lightning drive again, because what I wanted to do was potentially get enough luck damage to take out this mech, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So at this point, because what I was trying to do was guard this property a little bit. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to really get much done with that. And then I moved this guy to safety because he put in a lot of effort earlier. I could have probably just finished off this guy with the battlecopter arrow, but then I would have lost the battlecopter, and I kind of wanted to send this guy back for repairs because I can do that. And I have enough money to be able to afford that a little bit as well. And like he's a good boy, because he did so much work in the back, in the bottom here. So I wanted to sort of reserve him basically. So my opponent goes for a victory march here. So he takes out this infantry with the battlecopter plus tank, and then finishes off with the mech. Well, gets the capture with the mech, so that's one property. He tried for the engagement there, but even if he had gotten it, like what he could have done is, instead of attacking my tank there, he could have just moved in with the mech. And I think he could have just kicked me off of there. Yeah, he could have just kicked me off of the road, and then he could have captured this property with this infantry if he wanted to. But instead he went for attacks like that, which I don't know why he bothered. I believe this into this. Yeah. Oh, that's never going to kill either, because I have lightning drive active. So I don't know why you went for that either. There's like no point to doing that. Oh, he was able to just finish off. Yeah. Okay. So he should have just attacked into the capping property here. That would have been better. But instead he's going for the attack there. And then he falls back a little bit with these guys over here, I believe. Did he capture this? I think he flipped this one as well. But overall, not that bad of a victory march, especially considering I've got 2 property caps right there. So I flipped it back to even. If he had gone for the attack with the infantry into this guy, that would have been kind of devastating, because I would be down in income right now. But since we're tied, it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Yeah, they would just take shit out basically. Got my battlecopters swarming in at this point. And then I'm trying to reserve as many of my vehicles as I can at this point as well. Just because I want to save up for a lightning strike finally, and because that's kind of Eagle's deal. I've been popping lightning drives as I need to. Like, the first one I popped to take control of the air down here. Second one I popped to brace for Sammy's victory march, because I was assuming he would just pop it that turn, because there wasn't much of a point in waiting any longer, because I already had my medium tank there, but there was no way he was going to breach that in time. So that's why I went for both of my lightning drives. But anyways, yeah, he only gets like 6 damage on the exposed anti-air. as well, which is like, it's a good luck roll, but like, Sammy tank, dude. Sammy tanks are, well, actually, that's not that good of a luck roll, because he was at 10 before. But yeah, Sammy's firepowers was just so bad, dude. Especially on her, like, tanks. Her tanks are just so fucking bad. And then she goes for artillery tank, which I'm assuming is so that she can try and deal with the medium tank somehow. But like, I'm gonna be able to just waltz in like that, wrap up a lot of these units still. Like on the right here, I've got a lot that I've been able to just take care of pretty easily. I'm able to just swarm down here, take out basically all of his units in this area that we're retreating. And then I've got this guy in a nice little safe zone because he's not going to be able to break through this tank ever. So I've got basically control. I basically have control of this entire area down here with my battle coppers and everything. But I've got this guy to potentially keep on harassing, but also in position to go back for repairs if I need it. He takes out my tank, and then just moves in like this to try and break through here. And he get some good stuff done. He's basically taking control of this entire area, even though I'm about to flip this. And he's done good against my tanks in this area. The only issue is, like, I don't think it's gonna end up being enough because I've got my medium tank right there. So he goes ahead and resigns. Finally. And yeah, it's gonna be like the unit count is 13 to 21. Like at this point, it's just wrapping up basically. So like I got good shots on these guys. Like if I wanted to. Here's the crazy thing. If I wanted to, if my opponent hadn't resigned there, I could have just gone for another freaking lightning jive. I would have been able to take out these two for free. Would have been able to get a chance at taking out this guy. Pretty decent chance as well. And then I would basically have free reign of this area with the battlecopter. This guy I could have used to take out this tank. Basically could have fallen back with this guy, this tank, and then attack to interrupt this cap. This would have flipped, so I would be ahead in income, and then I would have at least, I wouldn't have interrupted because that's Sammy, but I would have at least done some ship to this guy, or maybe I could have just stood in place because that would have blocked, or I could have gone like to there maybe. That would have probably been good. I could have moved there, and then what I could have done would have made it so that my anti-air would be safe, right? From his tank. And then I could have just moved in with more tanks and stuff and everything. And then I would have two battlecopters here, basically with free reign of this entire area. This would be basically dead. I could have gotten a good first strike on this guy. We're going to finish off this guy, so win-win there. More battlecopters are going to be swarming in anyways. So, overall, my opponent's like done at this point. I think he was done. Well, at this point, I think my turn there was what really ended up securing it. But after that failed victory march, that kind of sealed the deal. Now, I feel like I probably would have had enough money even if I hadn't grabbed this property. I was sort of operating under 15k, 16k income anyways. Yeah, 14k. It would have been 15, which I think I would have had enough money to just do what I built anyways. 10, 11. Yeah, I would have had like at least 11. I was just doing battlecopter plus infantry for a little while there, so. Even if he had gone for the attack to that guy, I would have been fine. So, anyways, that's about it for today's episode. We're getting kind of close to the end of this season, actually. because I'm getting pretty close to here. It should just be like 1 or 2 more matches and then I've got it. And everything that I have in here, I've just got a couple left here. So I'm like, this one just ended like a couple days ago. Well, a week ago. So this one's gonna be next week's episode, and then this one will probably end up being the finale. It depends on how it ends up going, obviously, but yeah. And then after that, I'm not exactly sure how how often I'll be doing this. I think, what am I on now? Season 5? Yeah, season 5. I think after I get up to 1200, I might slow down on the Global League videos, so maybe a little bit less of that. But what I do sort of want to do is get into live queue matches, probably just live queue streams on Saturday or something. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with it yet, but I will make some announcements on the channel or whatever whenever I will set this up. It's going to be relatively soon, so yeah, stay tuned in for that. Stay tuned in for the remainder of this season, I guess. And yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe and all that other nonsense, I guess. And I will see you guys in the next one. So, bye.